The man who acted rich for 30 days became a millionaire. The woman who acted healthy for 21 days cured her arthritis. They discovered the law that makes reality bend to match your actions. Most people do this backwards. They wait for evidence before believing. They wait to have money before acting wealthy. They wait to feel confident before acting confident. But your brain can't tell the difference between real and acted behavior. When you act as if your goal is already achieved, your subconscious believes it's true and starts making it happen in your life. Right now, millions of people are trapped in what I call the backwards epidemic. Every single morning they wake up and perform the wrong identity. They act broke, even though they want to be rich. They act sick, even though they desire perfect health. They act rejected, even though they crave love and acceptance. They've become method actors in the drama of their own limitations, performing their problems so convincingly that their subconscious mind has no choice but to create circumstances that match their daily performance. Watch someone who constantly struggles with money and notice how they perform poverty throughout their entire day. They check every price twice before buying anything. They sigh dramatically when bills arrive in the mail. They complain endlessly about gas prices, grocery costs, and expensive everything. They talk constantly about what they can't afford. They dress like someone who has given up on looking good. They walk with the slumped shoulders of financial defeat. They make every decision from scarcity thinking, always choosing the cheapest option regardless of quality or long-term value. Every gesture, every word, every behavior broadcasts the unmistakable identity of someone who doesn't have enough money. Their subconscious mind watches this daily performance like a faithful audience member and thinks, this person is clearly poor, so I need to create more experiences of being poor to match their obvious identity. It attracts bill collectors, unexpected expenses, broken appliances, and lost job opportunities, because these circumstances perfectly match the poverty identity being performed every single day. Now observe someone who effortlessly attracts wealth and notice how completely different their daily performance looks. They buy what they need without hesitation or apology. They tip service workers generously. They invest in quality items that last longer. They speak enthusiastically about opportunities rather than complaining about obstacles. They carry themselves with the quiet confidence of someone who expects good things to happen. They make decisions from abundance thinking, always considering long-term value rather than short-term savings. They dress well and maintain their possessions carefully. Every behavior demonstrates the unmistakable identity of someone who naturally expects prosperity. Their subconscious mind observes this consistent performance and concludes, this person is obviously wealthy, so I should create more experiences of wealth to support their clear identity. It attracts business opportunities, helpful connections, profitable investments, and unexpected windfalls, because these circumstances perfectly match the abundance identity being demonstrated daily. The exact same pattern operates in every area of human experience. People who remain chronically ill perform sickness identity from morning until night. They wake up cataloging their symptoms. They move carefully through their day, like their bodies are made of fragile glass. They research their conditions obsessively online. They talk about their diseases and limitations constantly. They plan every activity around their supposed restrictions. They identify themselves primarily as patients rather than as fundamentally healthy beings dealing with temporary imbalances. They perform the role of a sick person so thoroughly that their subconscious maintains illness to match their obvious sick identity. Meanwhile, genuinely healthy people perform health identity even when they occasionally feel unwell. They wake up appreciating their body's strength and resilience. They move with confident energy throughout their day. They speak about their body's amazing ability to heal itself. They plan activities based on what they want to do rather than what their conditions supposedly prevent. They identify themselves as essentially healthy beings who occasionally need to support their body's natural healing processes. Their consistent health performance convinces their subconscious to maintain and restore optimal physical function. In relationships, chronically lonely people perform rejection identity without realizing it. They speak from insecurity and neediness in every conversation. They apologize constantly for taking up space or asking for attention. They assume others find them boring or burdensome. They act like they're doing everyone a favor by leaving social situations early. They perform the unmistakable role of someone who doesn't quite belong anywhere. Their subconscious observes this lonely performance and creates more experiences of isolation and rejection to match their obvious unwanted identity. But naturally, social people perform lovable identity even when they're physically alone. They speak confidently about their relationships and social connections. They assume others genuinely enjoy their company. They set healthy boundaries that demonstrate self-respect rather than desperation. They participate fully in social situations because they expect to be welcomed and appreciated. They perform the clear role of someone who naturally belongs and adds value wherever they go. Their subconscious responds by creating experiences that match their beloved identity. This backwards approach to life keeps people permanently trapped in whatever circumstances they're trying to escape. Society has taught you to wait for external evidence before changing your internal identity. Wait until you actually have money before acting wealthy. Wait until you truly feel confident before behaving confidently. Wait until people prove they love you before acting lovable. But this approach creates an impossible gap between your current reality and your desired reality that can never be closed. If you only act from what currently exists in your life, you can never create anything new or different. You become trapped in an endless loop of recreating exactly what already is. Your current circumstances exist precisely because of how you've been consistently acting up until this moment. Every thought pattern, every emotional state, every behavior, every word you speak is continuously instructing your subconscious mind about what kind of reality it should create for you. Your subconscious doesn't argue with these instructions or question whether they're beneficial. It operates like a perfectly obedient servant that simply says yes to whatever identity you demonstrate most consistently and works tirelessly to manifest external circumstances that match your internal performance. This is why the reality gap between where you are and where you want to be never closes when you keep acting from current conditions instead of intended outcomes. But here's what changes everything once you understand and apply it correctly. When you begin acting as if your desired outcome has already been achieved, your subconscious mind becomes confused about what's real and what's performed. It cannot distinguish between you acting successful and you actually being successful because both create identical neural firing patterns in your brain. A brilliantly performed role of prosperity creates the same electrical activity in your nervous system as genuine prosperity. Your deeper mind accepts the convincing performance as absolute reality and immediately begins creating external circumstances that match your consistent internal demonstration. This isn't just psychological theory or motivational speculation. This is precisely how your brain actually functions according to the latest neuroscientific research. Scientists have discovered that imagined experiences activate exactly the same brain regions as real experiences when they're performed with sufficient detail, emotional intensity, and consistent repetition. This is why professional athletes use mental rehearsal to dramatically improve their physical performance. Their brains treat vivid mental practice exactly like actual physical practice. The same principle explains why actors who fully embody their characters for extended periods often develop genuine personality traits that persist long after filming ends. Their brains literally adapt to support whatever identity they perform most consistently, regardless of whether that identity was originally real or simply acted. Robert De Niro became genuinely more confident and assertive after playing powerful characters. Meryl Streep developed authentic accents and mannerisms that became part of her personality. Their neural networks reorganized to support the identities they perform professionally. Your subconscious mind operates according to one fundamental principle that never changes. It believes and manifests whatever you demonstrate most consistently through your daily actions, emotions, and words. If you demonstrate poverty consciousness through your behavior patterns, it creates poverty experiences. If you demonstrate illness consciousness through your physical actions, it maintains sickness conditions. If you demonstrate unworthiness consciousness through your relationship patterns, it attracts rejection and abandonment. But when you consistently demonstrate wealth consciousness, health consciousness, or worthiness consciousness through committed acting, it has absolutely no choice but to create matching external experiences. Joseph Murphy discovered this reality-bending principle after decades of studying why some people could transform their lives rapidly while others remained stuck despite sincere efforts to change. He noticed that successful people in every field consistently acted from their desired identity rather than their current circumstances. They behaved as if their goals were already accomplished facts rather than distant dreams they hoped might someday come true. They spoke from their intended future rather than their present limitations. They made decisions from their ideal self rather than their current struggling self. Murphy found that this acting as if principle worked where other methods failed because it completely bypassed the conscious mind's doubt and resistance. When you try to force yourself to believe something your rational mind considers impossible or unlikely, you create enormous internal conflict that actually blocks manifestation. Your conscious mind fights against what it perceives as unrealistic expectations. But when you simply choose to act as if something is already true without trying to convince yourself mentally, you slip the new identity past your critical thinking directly into your subconscious acceptance. Your deeper mind responds to what you consistently do, not what you occasionally think. It judges your true identity by your actions, not your intentions. It creates your reality based on your demonstrated patterns, not your stated goals. This is why people can repeat affirmations for years without results, while others transform their entire lives in weeks through committed identity performance. The biblical foundation for this principle appears in Romans 4:17, which describes God as the one who calls things that be not as though they were. This isn't religious doctrine, but practical instruction about how consciousness creates physical reality. When you call forth through your consistent actions and words what doesn't yet exist in visible form, you activate the same creative process that brings all invisible potential into physical manifestation. You become a conscious collaborator with the intelligent force that responds to sustained intention demonstrated through unwavering behavior. The reason this subconscious deception works so effectively is that your deeper mind evolved over millions of years to respond to behavioral patterns rather than logical analysis. Throughout all of human evolution, behavior indicated reality more accurately than words or thoughts. If someone consistently acted like a tribal leader, they were accepted and treated as a leader. If someone behaved like they belonged to a particular group, they were welcomed as a member. If someone demonstrated the skills and attitudes of a successful hunter, they became successful at hunting and were given hunting responsibilities. Your subconscious still operates according to these ancient survival patterns, automatically accepting performed identity as actual identity whenever the performance is sustained, consistent, and emotionally convincing. It doesn't matter whether the identity was originally real or consciously chosen. Consistent performance makes it real in every way that matters. Modern neuroscience confirms Murphy's observations through extensive research on neuroplasticity and mirror neurons. Your brain constantly rewires itself based on your repeated actions, thoughts, and experiences. When you consistently act from a particular identity, your neural networks literally reorganize themselves to support that identity more effectively. Mirror neurons fire identically whether you actually perform an action or simply imagine performing it with vivid detail, creating the same brain changes either way. This means that acting as if literally rewires your neural circuitry to support your performed identity. Your brain begins producing the neurotransmitters, hormones, and electrical patterns that naturally arise from your acted identity. If you consistently act confident, your brain starts producing the neurochemistry of confidence. If you persistently act healthy, your nervous system begins generating the biological patterns of health. If you continually act loved, your biochemistry shifts to match the physiology of someone who feels genuinely appreciated and valued. Studies on professional actors reveal how profoundly performed identities can become embedded in consciousness and even biology. Actors who portray confident characters for extended periods develop measurable increases in testosterone and decrease in cortisol, the exact hormonal profile of genuinely confident people. Those who embody successful, powerful characters begin attracting real success and leadership opportunities in their personal lives. Actors who portray healthy, vibrant characters frequently experience dramatic improvements in their actual physical health during and after their roles. Their brains and bodies adapt completely to support whatever identity they perform most consistently, regardless of what they originally believed about themselves or their capabilities. The performance becomes the reality through pure neurological adaptation to demonstrated patterns. The emotional component of identity performance is absolutely crucial because emotions provide the energetic fuel that powers all transformation. Acting without genuine feeling is just empty mimicry that fails to convince your subconscious of anything meaningful. But when you act successful while authentically feeling successful, act healthy while genuinely feeling vital, act loved while truly feeling appreciated, you create a complete identity demonstration that your deeper mind must accept as absolute truth. The combination of consistent behavior and matching emotional states creates an irresistible signal that overwhelms any contradictory evidence from current external circumstances. Your subconscious responds to this unified message by reorganizing your entire reality to support and validate your performed identity. This explains why some people can use positive thinking techniques for decades without meaningful results, while others completely transform their lives in mere weeks through committed identity acting. Thinking alone doesn't convince the subconscious because thoughts are abstract mental events. But behavior combined with emotion creates concrete, undeniable evidence that your subconscious interprets as proof of who you actually are. When your actions, emotions, and words perfectly align around a single consistent identity, external reality has no choice but to bend and conform to match that demonstrated identity. The law of assumption operates through your subconscious mind's literal interpretation of your daily behavior patterns. When you assume through your consistent actions that you're wealthy, healthy, and loved, your subconscious automatically assumes these things must be true and works continuously to maintain them. It attracts opportunities for increased wealth, orchestrates healing processes in your body, and magnetizes loving relationships because these positive outcomes perfectly match the successful identity you're demonstrating without question. This law bypasses conscious resistance because you're not trying to force yourself to believe anything that feels unrealistic or impossible. You're simply choosing to behave differently than you have in the past. Your rational mind might strongly resist the idea that you could become wealthy, but it has no logical argument against you acting more confidently around money. It might doubt whether you could achieve perfect health, but it can't object to you moving with more energy and taking better care of yourself. It might question whether you're truly lovable, but it won't interfere with you treating yourself with greater kindness and respect. Acting as if succeeds where other personal development methods fail because it engages your complete being, mind, body, emotion, and spirit in creating and maintaining your new identity. Affirmations only engage your thinking mind. Visualization only engages your imagination. Goal setting only engages your planning abilities. But identity acting engages your entire nervous system in demonstrating and embodying who you consciously choose to become. This total engagement creates the overwhelming evidence your subconscious requires to accept and permanently maintain your new identity. Let me share the remarkable story of Robert, a night shift janitor who accidentally discovered this law and used it to become a multimillionaire entrepreneur. Robert worked cleaning office buildings and spent his days dreaming of becoming a successful businessman, but he had no education, no connections, no capital, and no apparent path to his goals. He felt trapped in his circumstances and resigned to a life of limitation. One evening, while cleaning an executive's office, he found an expensive, tailored suit that had been left behind. Instead of immediately turning it into lost and found, Robert decided to try it on in front of the office mirror. For the first time in his life, he saw a successful businessman looking back at him. The transformation was so startling and powerful that he made a life-changing decision. He decided to wear that suit to work every night under his janitor's coveralls. This simple act began transforming Robert's entire identity performance. He started walking differently, with the confident posture of someone who belonged in those executive offices. He began speaking differently to the business people he encountered during his shift, addressing them as equals rather than apologetically as servants. He started reading business magazines and financial newspapers during his breaks instead of scrolling social media. He began thinking differently about money, opportunities, and his own potential. Within 6 months, one of the executives he had been interacting with offered him an entry-level position in their marketing department. They were impressed by his professional demeanor, obvious intelligence, and genuine interest in business success. Robert accepted the position and continued his identity performance even more intensively. He dressed slightly better than required for his new role. He spoke with quiet authority in meetings. He volunteered for challenging projects that others avoided. He carried himself like someone who was destined for leadership and greater responsibility. His consistent success identity performance created a powerful momentum that attracted one promotion after another. Within 3 years, he was managing an entire department. Within 5 years, he was a company vice president. Within 8 years, he had started his own consulting firm. Within 12 years, he had built a business empire worth millions of dollars. He never stopped acting like the successful person he had decided to become that night in front of the office mirror. His external circumstances eventually matched his internal identity demonstration perfectly. The story of Sarah illustrates how this law works with health and physical healing. She was diagnosed with severe rheumatoid arthritis at age 32 and told by multiple doctors that she would need to manage pain and progressive joint destruction for the rest of her life. For the first 2 years after her diagnosis, Sarah acted sick every single day. She moved carefully and tentatively like her body was made of fragile crystal. She spoke constantly about her symptoms, limitations, and prognosis. She researched her disease obsessively online. She planned every activity around her supposed restrictions. She identified herself primarily as an arthritis patient rather than as a fundamentally healthy person dealing with a temporary challenge. Her condition worsened steadily as her body manifested the chronic illness identity she performed daily. Joint pain increased, mobility decreased, and medical tests showed progressive inflammation throughout her system. She was trapped in a downward spiral of declining health that seemed to confirm her doctor's pessimistic predictions. Then Sarah met Elena, a 60-year-old woman at an arthritis support group who had been diagnosed with the same condition 15 years earlier, but showed absolutely no signs of illness or limitation. When Sarah asked about her secret, Elena explained that she had chosen to act healthy despite her diagnosis and medical history. She moved with confident energy and grace. She spoke about her body's remarkable strength and healing capacity. She planned adventures and activities based on what she wanted to experience rather than what her condition supposedly prevented. She identified herself as a fundamentally healthy person who had successfully overcome a temporary inflammatory challenge. Elena's daily health performance had convinced her subconscious to maintain optimal physical function despite her initial diagnosis. Her body had responded to her consistent health identity by healing inflammation, restoring joint mobility, and creating vibrant energy that amazed her doctors and inspired everyone who knew her story. Sarah decided to completely change her own identity performance. She began acting healthy while still experiencing significant symptoms. She started moving with confidence instead of caution, trusting her body's ability to handle normal activities. She spoke about her recovery and healing instead of her pain and limitations. She planned active adventures instead of accepting restrictions. She dressed like someone who felt vibrant instead of someone who felt sick. She performed the role of a healthy person so consistently that her subconscious had no choice but to support that identity. Within 3 months, her symptoms began improving noticeably. Within 6 months, her inflammation markers dropped to normal ranges. Within 1 year, her doctors could find no trace of active arthritis in her system. Within 18 months, she was hiking, dancing, and living with more energy and vitality than she had felt in decades. She had literally acted her way back to perfect health by consistently demonstrating the identity of someone whose body functioned flawlessly. Margaret's transformation shows how this law creates profound changes in relationships and social connections. She had been single for 12 years after a devastating divorce and had completely given up hope of finding genuine love again. She acted like a woman nobody wanted or appreciated. She dressed down instead of up for every occasion. She avoided social situations where she might meet potential partners. She spoke negatively about men, relationships, and her own desirability. She carried herself like someone who expected rejection and disappointment. She performed the unmistakable role of an unwanted, unlovable woman so thoroughly that she remained completely isolated from romantic connection year after year. Then Margaret decided to act as if she was already in the loving relationship she desired. She began dressing beautifully every single day, even when staying home alone. She spoke positively and hopefully about love and relationships whenever the topic arose. She made physical space in her home for a partner by clearing half her closet and making room in her bathroom. She set her dining table for 2 people every evening. She carried herself like a woman who was deeply cherished and adored. She radiated the confidence and joy of someone who was genuinely loved and appreciated. Margaret performed this beloved woman identity consistently for 4 months. During the 5th month, she met David at a neighborhood coffee shop where she had started spending time reading and enjoying her own company. He was immediately attracted to her radiant energy, genuine confidence, and obvious contentment with her life. They began dating within days, developed a deep connection within weeks, and were engaged within 10 months. Margaret had acted her way into authentic love by consistently demonstrating the identity of a woman who naturally attracted and deserved devoted partnership. These transformation stories illustrate the most important truth about your current circumstances. They are not permanent facts about reality or fixed limitations that you must accept forever. They are simply temporary reflections of whatever identity you have been consistently performing until now. The moment you begin acting from a different identity, you immediately initiate a process that must eventually reshape your external circumstances to match your new internal demonstration. This isn't wishful thinking, magical beliefs, or denial of current reality. This is understanding precisely how consciousness operates through consistent behavior to create and modify physical experience. Your subconscious mind functions like a theater director that automatically creates sets, casting, lighting, and scenarios to match whatever role you're performing most convincingly. If you act poor, it creates circumstances of financial struggle. If you act sick, it maintains conditions of physical limitation. If you act lonely, it orchestrates experiences of isolation and rejection. But when you consciously change your performance to match your desired identity, your subconscious immediately begins changing the entire production to support your new role. Act wealthy, and it starts creating opportunities for financial abundance. Act healthy, and it begins orchestrating healing and vitality. Act loved, and it attracts people who genuinely appreciate and value you. The three essential pillars that make reality bending inevitable are mental acting, physical acting, and emotional acting. All three must be aligned and consistent for the law to work reliably and produce lasting transformation. Mental acting involves completely disciplining your internal dialogue to match your intended identity rather than your current circumstances. Physical acting involves adopting all the behaviors, postures, and actions that naturally express your desired identity in every situation. Emotional acting involves cultivating and maintaining the feeling states that correspond to your achieved goals. Mental acting requires taking absolute control over the voice in your head that provides constant commentary about your life and circumstances. If you're acting wealthy, your internal voice must speak about opportunities and investments rather than bills and limitations. If you're acting healthy, your mental conversation must focus on vitality and strength rather than symptoms and concerns. If you're acting loved, your thoughts must center on appreciation and connection rather than fear and rejection. This mental rehearsal continuously prepares your subconscious to recognize and create external experiences that match your internal script. Most people never realize how powerfully their internal dialogue shapes their external reality. The voice in your mind is constantly instructing your subconscious about what kind of circumstances it should create for you. If that voice complains about money problems, relationship difficulties, and health concerns throughout each day, your subconscious obediently manifests more problems to match those detailed instructions. But when you discipline that internal voice to speak consistently from your intended identity, it becomes an incredibly powerful programming tool that directs your subconscious to create circumstances matching your desired outcomes. Physical acting involves completely adopting the body language, movements, clothing choices, and environmental arrangements that naturally express your intended identity. Wealthy people move, dress, and organize their lives differently than poor people. Healthy people have different energy patterns, exercise habits, and self-care routines than chronically ill people. Loved people interact, set boundaries, and express themselves differently than lonely, rejected people. When you consciously adopt these behavioral patterns before achieving the external results, you dramatically accelerate the entire manifestation process. Your body language continuously communicates your identity to both your subconscious mind and everyone around you. When you slump your shoulders, avoid eye contact, and move hesitantly through your day, you broadcast insecurity and limitation to your deeper mind. Your subconscious receives this clear message and creates experiences that match this obviously insecure identity. But when you stand tall, make confident eye contact, and move with purposeful energy, you broadcast competence and capability. Your subconscious responds by creating experiences that support and validate this confident identity. The way you choose to dress also communicates identity with tremendous power and precision. Clothing isn't just fabric covering your body. It's a detailed identity statement that influences both your internal psychology and how others perceive and respond to you. When you dress like someone who has given up caring about their appearance or future prospects, you feel defeated and hopeless, and others treat you with corresponding disregard. But when you dress like someone who values themselves highly and expects wonderful things to happen, you feel more confident and optimistic, and others respond much more positively to your obvious self-respect and positive expectations. Your living environment broadcasts your identity as clearly as your clothing choices or body language. If your home is cluttered, dirty, or chaotic, it demonstrates that you don't value yourself or expect good things to enter your life. Your subconscious mind receives this environmental message and maintains other life circumstances that match this low-value identity. But when you create a clean, organized, beautiful living space, you demonstrate genuine self-respect and positive expectation. Your subconscious responds by systematically improving other areas of your life to match this elevated identity standard. Emotional acting involves consciously cultivating and consistently maintaining the feeling states that correspond to your desired outcomes as if they had already been achieved. This isn't pretending to feel something you don't genuinely experience. It's strategically choosing to focus your attention on aspects of your current life that naturally generate your desired emotions, then amplifying and sustaining those authentic feelings throughout each day. If you want to feel abundant, you deliberately focus on everything you currently possess rather than dwelling on what seems to be missing. If you want to feel healthy, you appreciate your body's current functioning rather than criticizing its perceived limitations. If you want to feel loved, you acknowledge every sign of care and appreciation you receive rather than fixating on rejection or loneliness. Most people unconsciously focus their attention on whatever is missing, broken, or problematic in their lives, and then wonder why they feel chronically dissatisfied, anxious, and hopeless. But when you consciously redirect your attention to what's already working well in your experience, you naturally generate feelings of gratitude, contentment, and optimism that your subconscious interprets as evidence that your life is fundamentally good and should be maintained or improved further. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions for transforming your reality because it clearly tells your subconscious that your current life contains genuine value that should be preserved and expanded. When you consistently feel grateful for your existing health, relationships, opportunities, and possessions, your subconscious works diligently to provide you with even more reasons to feel grateful. When you appreciate your current circumstances instead of constantly wishing they were different, your subconscious seeks to enhance and multiply these obviously appreciated aspects of your experience. When all three pillars align perfectly, when your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions consistently express and support your chosen identity, you create what Murphy called assumptive living. You begin living from your intended reality rather than your apparent reality. This assumptive living powerfully convinces your subconscious that your desired identity represents your actual identity, which immediately triggers the creative process that systematically transforms external circumstances to match internal assumption. Assumptive living requires a fundamental shift in how you interpret and respond to your daily experiences. Instead of seeing current circumstances as permanent facts that determine and limit your identity, you begin seeing them as temporary conditions that are actively changing to match your new identity demonstration. Instead of acting from what currently exists, you act from what is inevitably becoming. Instead of being passively shaped by external conditions, you actively shape external conditions through consistent internal assumption and demonstration. This shift can feel uncomfortable initially because it requires releasing your attachment to current circumstances as the primary source of your identity and self-worth. Most people derive their sense of who they are from their external conditions, their job title, their bank balance, their relationship status, their health diagnoses. But assumptive living requires deriving your identity from your intended future rather than your current circumstances. You begin identifying yourself not by where you presently are, but by where you are consciously going through sustained identity performance. Common mistakes that completely block this law from working include inconsistent performance, emotional contradiction, and premature evaluation. Inconsistent performance occurs when you act from your desired identity occasionally, but revert to old limitation patterns whenever you face stress or unexpected challenges. Your subconscious requires absolutely consistent demonstration to accept any new identity as genuine and real. Sporadic acting mixed with frequent old behavior, creates confusion and contradiction that prevents any meaningful transformation. Many people start enthusiastically with their new identity performance, but abandon it completely the first time they encounter obstacles or setbacks. When unexpected bills arrive, they immediately revert to scarcity thinking and poverty behavior. When they feel physical symptoms, they instantly return to illness identity and sick behavior. When someone rejects or criticizes them, they fall back into unworthiness patterns and lonely behavior. But challenges and obstacles are precisely when consistent identity performance becomes most crucial and transformative. These difficult moments test whether your new identity represents genuine change or just temporary pretending. Emotional contradiction occurs when you perform the correct behaviors while simultaneously feeling doubtful, fearful, resentful, or embarrassed about the entire process. If you act confident while feeling foolish inside, act wealthy while feeling guilty about wanting money, or act healthy while feeling angry about your current condition, these contradictory emotions completely undermine your behavioral message. Your subconscious always responds more powerfully to your authentic emotional state than to your performed actions, so emotional consistency and alignment are absolutely essential for success. Some people attempt to act wealthy while feeling ashamed about their financial desires. They try to act confident while feeling embarrassed about their ambitions and goals. They try to act healthy while feeling bitter and resentful about their current physical challenges. These emotional contradictions create internal conflict and resistance that blocks all transformation. Your emotions must genuinely align with and support your actions for the law to operate effectively. Premature evaluation blocks the law when you judge the effectiveness of the entire process based on immediate external results rather than maintaining unwavering faith in the fundamental principle. Acting as if requires a sustained period of consistent performance before external reality begins shifting to match your new internal assumption. If you abandon the process because circumstances haven't changed quickly enough to satisfy your impatience, you interrupt the transformation just before breakthrough and lasting change would naturally occur. The temptation to evaluate progress based on external evidence is extremely strong because we've been conditioned throughout our lives to trust only what we can see, measure, and prove through physical senses. But the law of assumption operates through faith in the unseen creative process rather than dependence on visible evidence from current conditions. External changes are always the final step in transformation, never the first. Internal identity changes come first, followed by shifts in thinking and feeling patterns, followed by modifications in behavior and habits, and only finally followed by corresponding changes in external circumstances and conditions. Understanding this natural sequence prevents discouragement and doubt during the inevitable lag time between beginning your new identity performance and seeing dramatic results in your outer world. Your subconscious requires time to reorganize your entire reality to match your new consistent demonstration. During this reorganization period, external circumstances often appear completely unchanged or even contradictory to your desired identity. This apparent contradiction is completely normal and temporary. Maintaining absolute faith in your identity performance during this crucial period is what creates breakthrough into visible, lasting transformation. Your current life circumstances exist as perfect reflections of whatever identity you have been most consistently performing up until this moment. If you don't genuinely appreciate your current results, you must change your current performance. The 90-minute system you're learning tonight gives you the power to consciously choose what identity gets demonstrated through your thoughts, emotions, and actions instead of unconsciously repeating patterns that were installed decades ago during childhood. You can begin this transformation immediately by choosing one area of your life that needs improvement and committing to perform the identity that naturally creates success in that area. If you choose wealth, begin acting exactly like someone who effortlessly attracts money through wise decisions and positive expectations. If you choose health, Start acting precisely like someone whose body functions perfectly and heals quickly. If you choose love, begin acting exactly like someone who naturally attracts and maintains wonderful relationships. Perform your chosen identity with complete consistency for at least 21 consecutive days, paying careful attention to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors throughout each day. Notice when old patterns try to reassert themselves and consciously choose your new identity response instead. Act from your intended future rather than your apparent present. Demonstrate who you are becoming rather than who you have been. Your subconscious mind possesses unlimited creative power to transform any area of your life when you provide clear, consistent instructions through sustained identity demonstration. The same intelligence that heals, cuts, grows hair, and beats your heart can reorganize your entire external reality when you align your conscious performance with your desired outcomes. You become a conscious collaborator with the creative force that responds to faith demonstrated through action rather than words. The law that bends reality operates through your subconscious mind's complete inability to distinguish between masterfully performed identity and authentically lived identity. When you act from your desired outcomes with sufficient consistency, emotional intensity, and unwavering commitment, your deeper mind accepts this demonstration as absolute truth about who you really are, and immediately begins creating external circumstances that validate and support your obvious identity. This is your invitation to step into the role of conscious creator of your life experience. Choose the identity that matches your deepest desires. Perform that identity with unwavering consistency regardless of current appearances. Trust the creative process that transforms invisible assumption into visible reality through sustained demonstration of faith and action. Your life is about to change in ways that will amaze and inspire everyone who witnesses your transformation. The deeper mechanics of how identity performance creates physical reality reveal why this ancient principle produces such consistently miraculous results. When you act wealthy, your subconscious doesn't just change your thoughts about money. It actively directs your attention toward opportunities that were always present but invisible to your old poverty programming. It influences your decision-making processes to choose actions that create abundance rather than scarcity. It modifies your energy and presence so that other people perceive you as someone worth investing in, partnering with, or promoting. It orchestrates countless small synchronicities that combine to create the experience of effortless prosperity. This isn't metaphysical speculation, but observable cause and effect. Your identity performance changes your vibrational frequency, which changes what you notice, how you think, what you choose, and how others respond to you. These changes create a cascade of new experiences that perfectly match your performed identity. The process operates with mathematical precision once you understand and apply the underlying principles correctly. Similarly, health identity performance works by directing your subconscious to optimize every biological process in your body. When you consistently act healthy, your nervous system automatically adjusts hormone production, immune function, sleep cycles, and cellular regeneration to support your obvious health identity. Your subconscious mind controls these processes far more directly than medical science has previously understood. It can heal what doctors consider incurable and maintain vitality that defies chronological age when given clear, consistent instructions through sustained healthy identity performance. The relationship between consciousness and biology is so intimate that every thought, emotion, and acted identity creates immediate biochemical changes throughout your entire system. When you perform confidence, your body produces more testosterone and less cortisol. When you act loved, your system generates more oxytocin and serotonin. When you demonstrate vitality, your cells increase energy production and repair processes. Your identity performance literally becomes your biological reality through direct neurochemical pathways. Love and relationship transformation through identity performance works by changing what psychologists call your attachment broadcasting frequency. Every person continuously transmits their internal emotional state through micro expressions, voice tone, posture, and energetic presence. People with secure attachment and high self-worth broadcast emotional stability and genuine contentment, which naturally attracts others who appreciate these qualities. People with insecure attachment and low self-worth broadcast neediness and emotional instability, which repels healthy partners and attracts those who exploit vulnerability. Your relationship identity performance changes your internal emotional state, which changes your broadcast frequency, which changes who you attract and how they treat you. This isn't manipulation or pretending. It's becoming the person who naturally creates the relationships you desire. When you consistently perform the identity of someone who is genuinely loved and valued, you develop the authentic qualities that make you genuinely lovable and valuable. The scientific foundation for identity transformation continues expanding as researchers discover more about neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and quantum consciousness. Studies show that consistent mental and emotional patterns can activate or deactivate specific genes, literally rewriting your biological programming at the cellular level. Meditation research demonstrates that sustained attention practices create permanent structural changes in brain regions associated with emotional regulation, attention, and self-awareness. Placebo studies reveal that belief alone can trigger the same healing mechanisms as pharmaceutical interventions. This research validates what Murphy taught decades before modern science could measure these effects. Your consciousness directly influences your biology, your circumstances, and your possibilities through mechanisms that operate below the threshold of ordinary awareness. Identity performance gives you conscious access to these usually unconscious processes. The role of what Murphy called divine intelligence, or universal mind, in identity transformation adds a spiritual dimension that many people find essential for complete success. This involves recognizing that your individual consciousness participates in a larger field of intelligence that operates throughout the universe. When you align your identity performance with this universal intelligence, you access resources and possibilities far beyond your individual capabilities. Practical ways to connect with universal intelligence during identity performance include beginning each day with gratitude for the wisdom and power that flows through your consciousness. Acknowledge that you're not creating change through personal willpower alone, but allowing infinite intelligence to express perfection through your willing participation. Ask for guidance about what identity to perform and how to maintain consistency. Pay attention to intuitive insights that arise during or after your identity performance sessions. This spiritual approach doesn't require specific religious beliefs. It simply recognizes that individual consciousness exists within a larger context of intelligence that responds to sincere intention demonstrated through consistent action. Many people find that adding this spiritual dimension dramatically accelerates their transformation and provides guidance that purely psychological approaches cannot offer. The phenomenon of spontaneous manifestation through identity performance demonstrates the incredible creative power available when these principles are applied with complete faith and unwavering consistency. Murphy documented numerous cases of people manifesting seemingly impossible outcomes through intensive identity performance. An unemployed factory worker became a successful inventor after consistently acting like someone who creates valuable solutions to common problems. A shy, socially awkward woman became a confident public speaker and business leader after performing confidence identity daily for 6 months. A chronically depressed man became genuinely joyful and optimistic after acting like someone who naturally expects good things to happen. These dramatic transformations occurred not through denial of current conditions, but through systematic replacement of limiting identity patterns with empowering ones. Each person used intensive daily identity performance combined with emotional alignment and absolute faith in the creative process. They maintained their performance regardless of external appearances, internal doubts, or criticism from others until their subconscious fully accepted the new identity and manifested it completely in their external experience. Financial miracles through wealth, identity, performance often involve opportunities and resources appearing through seemingly impossible circumstances. A single mother with no business experience built a successful online company after consistently performing entrepreneurial identity for 8 months. A factory worker with a high school education became a successful real estate investor after acting like someone who naturally understands property values and market trends. A retired teacher living on a small pension attracted an inheritance from a distant relative she had never met after performing abundance identity for 1 year. These financial transformations occurred through the subconscious mind attracting exactly the right people, information, circumstances, and opportunities needed to manifest the demonstrated wealth identity. The external results appeared miraculous to observers, but were actually the natural consequence of consistent wealth, identity, performance, creating corresponding external experiences. Health miracles through wellness identity performance frequently involve healing conditions that medical science considers incurable or irreversible. A woman with advanced multiple sclerosis regained full mobility after performing perfect health identity for 18 months. A man with severe heart disease normalized his cardiac function after acting like someone whose heart works perfectly for 2 years. A child with severe asthma breathed freely for the first time after her entire family performed healthy identity for 6 months. These healings occurred through the subconscious mind directing biological processes to create health rather than maintain illness. Each person used intensive identity performance to convince their deeper mind that health, not sickness, represented their true nature. Their bodies responded by activating healing mechanisms and optimizing function to match their consistently demonstrated health identity. Relationship miracles through love identity performance frequently involve finding ideal partners after years of disappointment, healing troubled marriages, or attracting supportive communities and friendships. A man who had been divorced twice found his soulmate after performing beloved identity for 4 months. A couple on the verge of separation deepened their connection and renewed their marriage after both practiced appreciation and commitment identity for 6 months. A socially isolated woman developed a network of close friends after performing social confidence and genuine care identity for 1 year. These relationship transformations occurred through identity performance, changing both internal emotional states and external behavioral patterns. As people began genuinely embodying the qualities they desired in others, love, appreciation, commitment, authenticity, they naturally attracted people who possessed and valued these same qualities. The common element in all successful transformations is absolute commitment to identity performance regardless of appearances, obstacles, doubts, or external circumstances. People who succeed understand that external reality during the performance period may seem to contradict their desired identity as old patterns dissolve and new ones organize. They maintain their performance, especially when challenges arise. Knowing this indicates that deep transformation is occurring. They trust the creative process completely rather than judging progress by temporary appearances. Advanced practitioners often develop what Murphy called identity mastery, the ability to consciously shift between different identity performances depending on what results they want to create. They might perform wealth identity during business hours, health identity during exercise and self-care, and love identity during social interactions. This advanced approach requires strong self-awareness and disciplined attention, but allows for rapid transformation in multiple life areas simultaneously. The compound effects of successful identity performance continue expanding long after the initial transformation period. Wealth identity often leads to increased energy and vitality as financial stress decreases and better self-care becomes affordable. Health identity frequently creates confidence that improves career performance and social relationships. Love identity typically builds self-worth that enhances every area of life experience. Each successful transformation supports and amplifies the others, creating an upward spiral of expanding happiness and success. Some people discover unusual abilities or talents during identity performance that seem to emerge from deeper levels of consciousness. A businessman performing success identity suddenly developed remarkable intuition about profitable investments and market timing. A mother performing harmony identity found herself able to sense family members' emotional needs with unusual accuracy and provide exactly the right support. A student performing brilliance identity began understanding complex subjects with unprecedented ease and retention. These expanded capabilities suggest that systematic identity performance awakens latent potentials that remain dormant in ordinary consciousness. The social and family effects of individual identity transformation can be profound as changed consciousness influences everyone in the performer's environment. Children often improve their behavior and academic performance when parents successfully transform through identity performance. Spouses frequently become more loving and supportive as their partners increase self-worth, and happiness creates a more positive relationship dynamic. Co-workers and friends typically respond more cooperatively and kindly to someone who radiates confidence, contentment, and genuine care for others. Understanding the generational impact of successful identity performance reveals how personal transformation can break cycles of limitation that have persisted in families for decades. Parents who overcome poverty consciousness through wealth identity performance raise children who naturally expect abundance and success. Adults who heal relationship trauma through love identity performance model healthy connections for their children's future relationships. Individuals who establish unshakable health through wellness identity performance often see improved vitality in family members who share their environment and energy. The ripple effects of identity transformation extend far beyond immediate family and social circles. As more people learn to consciously direct their identity performance, collective consciousness shifts toward greater possibility and empowerment. Each person who successfully transforms limitations into possibilities becomes living proof that change is achievable, inspiring others to attempt their own transformations. This creates expanding circles of positive influence that can eventually affect entire communities and cultures. Maintaining motivation during challenging phases of identity performance requires understanding the psychological dynamics of transformation. Your ego mind will attempt to sabotage change through doubt, criticism, logical arguments about why the process won't work, and emotional resistance to unfamiliar patterns. This mental resistance is actually your psychological immune system trying to maintain familiar patterns even when those patterns create suffering. Expect these internal arguments and prepare responses that redirect attention back to consistent identity performance. Creating a support system of like-minded individuals dramatically enhances your likelihood of success by providing encouragement during difficult periods and celebration during breakthrough moments. Seek out others who understand the power of identity performance or who are working on their own transformation goals. Share daily progress, challenges, and insights with people who will support your efforts rather than undermining them through skepticism, negativity, or misplaced concern about your mental health or realistic expectations. The importance of celebrating small improvements throughout your identity performance journey cannot be overstated. Your subconscious responds powerfully to appreciation and acknowledgement of progress. When you notice increased energy, improved mood, new opportunities, enhanced relationships, or any positive changes, take time to feel genuine gratitude for these developments. This celebration programs your subconscious to create more of whatever you're appreciating, accelerating the entire transformation process. Dealing with criticism or mockery from others during your identity performance period requires maintaining absolute commitment to your transformation regardless of external opinions or social pressure. Family members, friends, or coworkers may express skepticism about your goals or methods. Some may actively attempt to discourage you through ridicule, dire predictions of failure, or appeals to be more realistic about your limitations. Understanding that this criticism often comes from their own fear of change or regret about their unfulfilled potential helps you maintain perspective and continue your practice. The phenomenon Murphy called reality reorganization occurs when successful identity performance in one area spontaneously improves other areas without specific effort or attention. Someone performing health identity might find their finances improving, as increased energy leads to better work performance and more productive activities. A person performing wealth identity might discover enhanced relationships as financial stress decreases and generosity increases. Someone performing love identity might experience improved health as loneliness and isolation are replaced by supportive connections and emotional fulfillment. Advanced troubleshooting for common identity performance challenges helps ensure success when standard approaches encounter unusual resistance. Some people find their old patterns particularly stubborn due to trauma, severe conditioning, cultural programming, or biological factors. These individuals may need to extend their performance period, increase session intensity, work with qualified therapists to address underlying emotional blocks, or use additional techniques like meditation, energy work, or spiritual practices to support their transformation. The integration of physical practices with identity performance can accelerate results by engaging both mind and body in the transformation process. Regular exercise supports identity performance by increasing energy, improving mood, creating physical evidence of positive change, and providing opportunities to practice new identity patterns in challenging situations. Healthy nutrition provides the biochemical foundation for optimal brain function during identity performance sessions and supports the biological changes that accompany psychological transformation. Understanding the energetic dimensions of identity performance reveals why some people experience rapid results while others require more time and sustained effort. Everything in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, including thoughts, emotions, physical conditions, and life circumstances. Identity performance works by gradually shifting your personal frequency to match your desired outcomes. People whose current frequency is relatively close to their desired state experience faster results than those who must make larger frequency adjustments. The role of forgiveness in successful identity performance addresses one of the most common blocks to positive transformation: resentment toward others for past hurts or self-condemnation for past mistakes creates energetic resistance that interferes with new pattern formation. Many identity performance attempts fail because people try to install empowering patterns while maintaining disempowering emotions about their past or present circumstances. Learning to forgive others and yourself creates the emotional freedom necessary for complete transformation. Seasonal considerations for optimal identity performance recognize that natural cycles affect subconscious receptivity and manifestation timing. Many people find identity performance most effective during spring months when natural growth energy supports new beginnings and fresh starts. Others discover enhanced results during autumn periods when harvest energy supports bringing desires into physical manifestation. Winter identity performance often works well for internal changes like healing emotional patterns or developing new skills, while summer energy supports external manifestations like career advancement or relationship changes. The scientific validation for Murphy's identity performance principles continues expanding as researchers discover more about consciousness, quantum physics, epigenetics, and the mind-body connection. Studies on meditation show measurable brain changes within weeks of consistent practice. Placebo research demonstrates that belief and expectation alone can create profound physical healing and performance enhancement. Quantum physics suggests that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining physical reality at the subatomic level. Epigenetic research shows that thoughts and emotions can activate or deactivate specific genes, literally rewriting biological programming. This growing scientific support validates what Murphy taught decades before modern research could measure and confirm these effects. The principles he discovered through practical application and careful observation are now being validated through rigorous scientific methodology, providing additional confidence for people who need logical support for their identity performance practice. Long-term mastery of identity performance eventually develops into what Murphy called Conscious creation. The ability to manifest desired outcomes quickly and reliably through focused intention and emotional alignment. Masters of this skill can make rapid adjustments to their identity performance, attract needed resources almost instantaneously, maintain optimal states of health, abundance, and love throughout changing circumstances, and help others achieve similar mastery. This represents the ultimate goal of identity performance work: complete conscious control over your life experience through deliberate identity choice and consistent demonstration. Your decision to learn and apply these principles places you among a small percentage of people willing to take complete responsibility for their life experience rather than remaining victims of unconscious patterns, external circumstances, or genetic and cultural programming. This choice requires courage to face your current limitations honestly, discipline to maintain consistent identity performance despite internal resistance and external skepticism, and faith to continue when external evidence seems lacking or contradictory to your desired outcomes. Yet those who complete this journey of conscious identity transformation discover capabilities and possibilities they never imagined were available to them. They become living examples of human potential realized through understanding and application of consciousness principles. Their success creates proof for others that transformation is possible, inspiring, expanding circles of people to undertake their own journeys of conscious creation through identity performance. The ripple effects of your transformation will extend far beyond your personal experience, influencing everyone whose life you touch through your changed consciousness, energy, and demonstrated possibilities. Your success becomes evidence that people are not stuck with their current circumstances, genetic inheritance, or cultural limitations, but can systematically reprogram their reality through conscious identity choice and consistent demonstration. Remember that you possess the same consciousness that has created every miracle, healing, and transformation throughout human history. The only difference between you and those who have achieved remarkable results is their understanding and application of the principles you now possess. Your consciousness contains infinite intelligence, unlimited creative power, and perfect knowledge of how to manifest your deepest desires and highest potential. The identity performance system you've learned tonight gives you conscious access to these usually unconscious creative processes. Begin tomorrow morning with absolute confidence in your ability to transform any area of your life through sustained identity demonstration. Choose the identity that matches your most important goal. Commit fully to performing that identity with unwavering consistency, regardless of current appearances, internal doubts, or external obstacles. Trust that your subconscious will respond to consistent identity performance exactly as Murphy discovered through decades of research and practical application with thousands of students. Prepare to be amazed by the transformation that begins immediately and continues expanding throughout your life as you master the art of conscious creation through systematic identity performance. Your new life is waiting for you to step into it through the simple act of becoming who you choose to be. The daily implementation of identity performance requires a structured approach that ensures consistency while allowing for natural adaptation to your unique circumstances and personality. Your morning identity activation should occur within the first hour of waking, when your brain is naturally transitioning from theta to alpha waves, creating optimal conditions for subconscious programming. This isn't about following a rigid ritual, but about establishing a consistent foundation that reinforces your chosen identity before external influences can activate old patterns. Begin each morning by spending 5 minutes in quiet reflection on who you are choosing to be today. This isn't visualization or affirmation, but a simple declaration of identity. If you're performing wealth identity, you might say internally, I am someone who naturally attracts and manages money wisely. If you're performing health identity, you might declare, I am someone whose body functions perfectly and heals quickly. If you're performing love identity, You might affirm, I am someone who naturally gives and receives love freely. The key is speaking from your intended identity as established fact rather than hopeful possibility. Follow this internal declaration with 3 specific actions that demonstrate your chosen identity. Someone performing wealth identity might check investment accounts with excitement rather than anxiety, plan a generous act of giving, or research a new opportunity for financial growth. Someone performing health identity might do energetic movement that celebrates their body's strength, prepare nutritious food with gratitude, or visualize their immune system working perfectly. Someone performing love identity might send an appreciative message to someone they care about, practice self-compassion for any perceived failures, or do something kind for a stranger. These morning actions serve as identity anchors that establish the vibrational frequency you'll maintain throughout the day. They create momentum that makes it easier to choose identity-aligned responses when challenges or decisions arise. The specific actions matter less than their consistency and emotional authenticity. Your subconscious responds to the energy behind your actions more than the actions themselves. Throughout each day, practice what Murphy called identity maintenance through hourly check-ins with yourself. Set a gentle reminder to ask, who am I being right now? Multiple times daily. If you notice yourself slipping into old identity patterns, worrying about money, complaining about physical symptoms, or expecting relationship problems, you can immediately redirect your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors back to your chosen identity. This isn't about perfection or self-criticism when you catch old patterns emerging. It's about developing conscious awareness of your identity, performance, and gently adjusting course whenever needed. Each time you catch an old pattern and choose your new identity instead, you strengthen the neural pathways that support your transformation while weakening the patterns that created your previous limitations. Evening identity reinforcement happens during the 30 minutes before sleep, when your conscious mind naturally relaxes and your subconscious becomes supremely receptive to programming. Review your day from the perspective of your chosen identity rather than focusing on problems or failures. Acknowledge moments when you successfully demonstrated your intended identity and feel genuine appreciation for this progress. If you notice areas where old patterns emerged, view these as valuable information about what needs more attention rather than evidence of failure. End each day by speaking directly to your subconscious mind with gratitude for accepting and implementing your chosen identity. Thank your deeper mind for working continuously to create circumstances that match your demonstrated patterns. Express appreciation for the transformation that's already occurring in invisible ways. This gratitude practice convinces your subconscious that the identity performance is working and should continue. The environmental factors that support successful identity performance include both your physical surroundings and your social connections. Your living space should reflect and reinforce your chosen identity rather than contradicting it through visual reminders of limitation or failure. Someone performing wealth identity should create an environment that feels abundant, not necessarily expensive, but well organized, clean, and aesthetically pleasing. Remove clutter, repair broken items, and add elements that make you feel prosperous. Someone performing health identity should create an environment that supports vitality, good lighting, fresh air, plants, healthy food options, easily accessible, and exercise equipment visible and inviting. Remove or minimize items that remind you of illness or limitation. Add elements that make you feel energetic and alive. Someone performing love identity should create an environment that feels welcoming and nurturing. Comfortable seating for guests, photos of positive relationships, fresh flowers or plants, and personal items that remind you of times when you felt appreciated and valued. Create space for others in your life, both literally and figuratively. Social connections either support or undermine identity performance depending on whether people around you reinforce your new identity or constantly remind you of your old limitations. During your transformation period, minimize time with people who consistently speak from limitation, complain chronically, or express skepticism about positive change. This isn't about cutting people off permanently, but protecting your developing identity from negative influence during its most vulnerable stage. Seek out people who embody the qualities you're developing or who support your growth and transformation. Join groups, communities, or activities where your chosen identity is normal and expected. If you're performing success identity, spend time with successful people. If you're performing health identity, connect with people who prioritize wellness. If you're performing love identity, cultivate relationships with people who demonstrate healthy attachment and emotional maturity. The language patterns you use throughout each day either reinforce your chosen identity or undermine it through subtle but constant programming. Someone performing wealth identity must eliminate phrases like, "I can't afford it," "Money doesn't grow on trees," "The economy is terrible," or "Rich people are greedy." Replace these with phrases like, "I choose not to purchase that right now," "Money flows to me from many sources," "I see opportunities everywhere," and "Successful people create value for others." Someone performing health identity must stop saying, "I always get sick," "My body is falling apart," "I have bad genes," or "Getting old is terrible." Instead, use phrases like, "My body heals quickly," "I have strong vitality," "I come from a long line of resilient people," and "I'm getting better with age." These language changes gradually reprogram your subconscious to expect health instead of illness. Someone performing love identity must eliminate phrases like, "Nobody understands me," "All the good ones are taken," "I'm not relationship material," or "Love never lasts." Replace these with, "I connect easily with like-minded people," "My perfect partner is finding their way to me," "I am worthy of deep love," and "Love grows stronger through commitment." Physical posture and movement patterns constantly communicate your identity to both your subconscious mind and everyone around you. Wealthy people move with confident purpose rather than hurried anxiety. They take up appropriate space rather than shrinking or apologizing for their presence. They make steady eye contact and use open gestures that invite connection rather than defensive postures that repel others. Healthy people move with fluid grace rather than careful restriction. They breathe deeply and fully rather than shallow and tentatively. They stand tall and balanced rather than slumped and defeated. Their movements express energy and vitality rather than exhaustion and limitation. Love people interact with warm openness rather than guarded defensiveness. They express themselves authentically rather than trying to please everyone. They set appropriate boundaries rather than accommodating inappropriate behavior. Their presence invites genuine connection rather than superficial interaction. Practice embodying these movement and interaction patterns throughout your daily activities. Walk like someone who owns their space and expects good things to happen. Sit like someone who belongs wherever they are. Speak like someone whose opinions matter and deserve consideration. These physical adjustments create immediate changes in how others perceive and respond to you while reinforcing your new identity and your own consciousness. The financial aspects of identity performance require practical wisdom combined with faith-based action. Someone performing wealth identity must make financial decisions from abundance consciousness rather than scarcity thinking, but this doesn't mean irresponsible spending or ignoring practical realities. Abundance consciousness means investing in quality over quantity, viewing money as energy that should flow rather than be hoarded from fear, and making decisions based on long-term value rather than short-term savings. Pay bills with gratitude for services received rather than resentment about money leaving. Tip generously when service is good to demonstrate your abundance consciousness and create positive energy around money. Invest in your personal development, health, and relationships as expressions of self-worth and expectation of positive returns. Save and invest money as expressions of confidence in your financial future rather than fear of poverty. Most importantly, develop multiple income streams and focus on creating value for others rather than just working harder at existing activities. Wealth identity naturally seeks ways to serve more people more effectively, which automatically creates more opportunities for financial reward. Your subconscious will guide you toward opportunities that match your abundance consciousness when you consistently demonstrate wealth identity through your daily financial choices. The health aspects of identity performance combine medical wisdom with consciousness practices that optimize your body's natural healing abilities. Someone performing health identity should work with qualified healthcare providers while also supporting their body through identity-aligned choices in nutrition, exercise, stress management, and lifestyle habits. Choose foods that make you feel energetic and vital rather than foods that create sluggishness or inflammation. Exercise in ways that feel enjoyable and sustainable rather than forcing yourself through activities you hate. Manage stress through practices that calm your nervous system, meditation, nature time, creative activities, or whatever helps you feel peaceful and centered. Most importantly, speak to your body with appreciation and encouragement rather than criticism and frustration. Your cells respond to your mental and emotional states. When you appreciate your body's constant efforts to maintain health and healing, it responds by optimizing these processes. When you criticize or resent your body's limitations, it responds by creating more symptoms that match your obvious dissatisfaction. The relationship aspects of identity performance require developing the internal qualities that naturally attract healthy connections while releasing patterns that repel love or attract dysfunction. Someone performing love identity must first establish a loving relationship with themselves through self-compassion, self-respect, and self-care practices that demonstrate their inherent worthiness of good treatment. Practice expressing appreciation for others without expecting anything in return. Develop the ability to set boundaries kindly but firmly when someone's behavior is inappropriate or harmful. Learn to communicate your needs and feelings clearly and directly, rather than hoping others will guess what you want or need. Most importantly, release the need to control how others think, feel, or behave. Focus on being the kind of person you would want to spend time with, authentic, supportive, interesting, and emotionally stable. Your relationship identity should attract people who appreciate these qualities while naturally repelling those who prefer drama, codependency, or superficial connections. The spiritual dimensions of identity performance connect your personal transformation with larger purposes and meanings that provide motivation during challenging periods. Many people find that their identity performance works more effectively when they view it as service to others rather than purely personal improvement. Someone performing wealth identity might focus on how their increased prosperity allows them to help family members, contribute to important causes, or create employment opportunities for others. Someone performing health identity might emphasize how their vitality allows them to serve their community more effectively, model wellness for their children, or pursue activities that benefit others. Someone performing love identity might concentrate on how their emotional health creates more harmonious relationships that contribute to family happiness and social connection. This service orientation prevents identity performance from becoming selfish or ego-driven while providing deeper meaning that sustains motivation through difficult periods. When your transformation serves purposes beyond personal benefit, you tap into spiritual resources that accelerate and support your development. The long-term maintenance of successful identity transformation requires ongoing attention to prevent gradual regression to old patterns during periods of stress, illness, or major life changes. Schedule regular identity check-ins, perhaps monthly or quarterly, to honestly assess whether you're maintaining your chosen identity or unconsciously slipping back into old limitations. Create support systems and accountability partnerships with people who understand and support your transformation goals. Share your progress, challenges, and insights with others who can provide encouragement during difficult periods and celebration during breakthrough moments. Consider working with coaches, mentors, or therapists who specialize in consciousness-based transformation approaches. Continue learning and growing in your understanding of consciousness principles through books, courses, workshops, or spiritual practices that align with your beliefs and values. Murphy's work provides an excellent foundation, but many other teachers and traditions offer complementary insights that can deepen your mastery of identity performance. Most importantly, begin sharing what you learn with others who might benefit from these principles. Teaching others actually strengthens your own mastery while fulfilling the natural desire to contribute to others' well-being. Your transformation creates proof that these principles work, inspiring others to attempt their own journeys of conscious creation through identity performance. The ultimate goal of identity performance is not just personal improvement, but the development of conscious creators who understand their power to shape reality through awareness, intention, and consistent demonstration of their highest potential. You become a living example of human possibilities when consciousness is aligned with creative principles that govern manifestation. Your success with these principles makes you a teacher simply by example. Others will notice your transformation and want to understand how you created such positive changes. Your willingness to share what you've learned multiplies the positive impact of your own transformation while reinforcing your mastery through teaching and demonstration. Remember that every master of these principles began exactly where you are now, with a desire for something better and a willingness to experiment with consciousness approaches that mainstream culture often dismisses as unrealistic or impossible. Your decision to apply these principles with consistency and faith places you among a growing number of people who are consciously participating in their own evolution and contributing to the expansion of human potential. The transformation you're about to begin extends far beyond personal improvement. You are participating in a larger awakening of human consciousness that recognizes the creative power available to every individual who learns to align their identity with their deepest values and highest aspirations. Your success contributes to this collective awakening while creating the life you've always known was possible. Begin tomorrow with absolute confidence in your ability to transform any area of your life through sustained identity demonstration. Trust the creative intelligence that responds to faith expressed through consistent action. Allow yourself to become who you've always known you could be when freed from the limitations of unconscious patterns and social conditioning.